My name is Raj Krishnan. I work for Microsoft. I'm a director of industry digital strategist in the manufacturing vertical. I focus on supply chain and digital twins. I'm currently working on actually a couple of digital twin projects, and also working on digital engineering and digital thread, where digital twin is going to play an important role. And I'd like to now introduce, I'll ask Samir, who is going to be participating in this discussion, and I'll ask him to introduce himself before we get into the topic.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Raj. Hello, everybody. Thanks for listening in. My name is Samir Kher. I'm a senior director at Ansys. I'm responsible for all of our digital twin products and solutions. I'm also a member of the steering committee and actually the treasurer of the Digital Twin Consortium. And I also serve as a co-chair for the manufacturing working group. Really looking forward to the discussion. All right, Raj. So the first question that I think we should answer is this one. One of the criticisms of vendors is that they develop products and solutions that lead to vendor lock-in for customers.
Yeah, I think that, all of us, as much as we want to be in a community and a consortium, we're all in here to sell some of our products and services, and there's nothing wrong with it. I think what's a little bit concerning is that where people, they may have a certain niche product, but then they just want the customer to buy into everything that they have. For example, they may have a good connectivity with the PLCs and systems, but then they want you to buy machine learning, or they want you to buy their data storage. And then what this really affects the customers is that they do not, they cannot use the existing assets that they have. Probably they're running on an AWS or an Azure machine learning platform. They just want to leverage this certain capabilities of a vendor and try to leverage other assets to optimize and get the best out of this. But each vendor, and I'm not blaming one or the other, tries to slowly come in. Sometimes they offer some free licenses. Sometimes they say, oh, we have connectors. The moment somebody says connectors, I get scared. I know what they're saying. Copy everything you have, put it in my system, right? It doesn't seem to be, let's kind of work together, take the best of what we have, and without replicating, without recreating this thing. So to me, this is a big concern. Unless vendors get out of this constant selling mode, but let their product speak for itself and enable the customers to leverage their assets.
Yeah, thanks, Raj. I completely agree. I couldn't agree more. Just to kind of add a couple more points of view there. I get it as a development engineer myself, right? I get that having an end-to-end solution as you build things out really tends to get the work to be very seamless. And so there's a tendency to have like a one vendor solution, or at least propose one vendor solution. It's also not, we're, like you said, we're in this business, right, as vendors. So having a sticky solution is something that everybody strives for. However, we have to really realize that digital twins is way too broad of a solution space for any one company or product. There's just absolutely no way that one company is going to be able to provide everything. There's always going to be an ecosystem, and ultimately we're all in it for the service of our customers and to make our customers successful. So we really have to come up with ways that let us interoperate. I also think that some of this is indicative of the level of maturity in this space. Digital twins, at least in this sort of current form, are relatively new. They're evolving and emerging. So I believe as we grow further and as we mature further, more of these standards will come in. For example, within the simulation space, right? As maturity has evolved, we've come up with standards like FMI and CAD standards and things like that, so that tools can interact quite seamlessly with each other. And I expect we're heading in that same direction. In the meantime, I think vendors should really be thinking of this as an ecosystem. They should be thinking about this as open and making standards and APIs where possible, and then focusing on differentiating on capability within their area and competing in that way versus trying to get an all-in solution.
Yes, I mean, another thing that I noticed, besides vendor lock-in, is that you mentioned it's a relatively new area. So people are coming up with some flashy demos and more of a product features and capabilities, but less about what problems they are trying to solve. And to me, that is a concern. And I just want to know what your thoughts are, how people are approaching customers.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another really good point. Again, here I think there is realization, or the reality is digital twin is a solution. Just like it's an ecosystem play, it is a solution as well. However, just by the nature of software companies and vendors, we tend to be in it for selling products, because products tend to be higher margin versus solution. So there is that sort of inherent sort of challenge. Um, uh, so I think though it's important that we start approach these problems with our customers from the point of view of what is the business problem that's being solved. Start with the value first, start with the business problem first, and then work backwards to the technology and figuring out the different pieces that can fit in order to meet that business problem. I've seen quite a few successful implementations of digital twins at this point, and a few not so successful. And the ones that aren't successful often tend to be feature heavy, feature centric, demonstrating a capability, and then looking for some internal business problem that the technology can fit to. So
Yeah, even I'm a little disturbed whenever I see this vendor presentation. They always come up with this 3D thing rotating and things moving and flying, and people are awed by, oh, this is what a digital twin is. But it may be a good way to attract customers, but it may not be relevant to the problem that they're solving, right? So I think, to me, like, I was in a call talking about low code solutions, and somebody said, yeah, we had low code solutions 25 years ago. There was Lotus Notes, there was Excel. And same thing, when people say digital twin, a lot of the people say, what are you talking about? I did finite element analysis, I had simulation, I had model. What's this new thing about digital twins? And I kind of distinguish this as a time dependent, constantly changing input from multiple areas to make an end-to-end process better, right?
yeah,
It's not just a simplistic definition of physical representation of the object is inaccurate. It is not that. It is. We have models for that. We have drawings, CADs, and
yes.
simulation, finance. But this one is, we are solving let's say, a supply chain end-to-end problem, or we are trying to incorporate design, manufacturing, and maintenance, feeding it on so that we can come up with a better outcome. So we must first look into that.
Okay, Raj. So for this next one, the question is: vendors tend to guide towards a simplistic approach that is often not holistic or comprehensive. Yeah, would love to hear your reactions to that.
Probably, I think we discussed this in the previous one as much, right? Where, hey, it's not a demo of one solution. I think you very well mentioned that it should be outcome driven. What is that you're trying to? What is the business outcome, and is there a value in it? Don't sell simulation. Don't sell telemetry. Just find out what is the problem we are trying to solve. Have a holistic approach. Identify. Some people want lots of things, but they don't even have the fundamentals. So the holistic approach means make an assessment. First of all, identify the outcomes, prioritize them, and then find out the value drivers and prioritize which initiatives will fit in, and then do a capability assessment, and then come to the right solutions, and then showcase your product. Don't start the other way around. So that's what I would call a holistic approach, and I want your thoughts on that.
Yep. Yeah. Great. I think I can also state that I completely agree there. I think that the challenge is to state the obvious there, but the challenge for customers is that they need to balance showing some sort of quick win with sort of incorporating the sort of the scaled thinking, right? The longer term sort of thinking. And that's where sometimes it's more appealing to just go with a simplistic approach to show a demo and just sort of
Yeah.
get things going. But that tends to simplify things and causes other challenges later for things. For example, things like not considering the significant investment that needs to be made. Right? You talked about not even having data from your equipment. Right? So you have to kind of have that whole picture in mind before you sort of embark on this journey and just sort of build something really quick and to kind of get to excitement. So it's really a challenge to sort of think big but start small. And also looking at things like what should you build in-house versus what are your core competencies versus what you can outsource. So lots of things in this space, but kind of having the still having some view to an outcome that's deliverable in a decent amount of time, while thinking in a bigger picture, I think is really a skill here that needs to be acquired pretty quickly by companies.
Samir, I think we talked about a lot of problems, and it's always easy to be critical. But what are your recommendations to make digital twin a reality?
Yeah, let me just quickly hit on a few things that we covered during our conversation, Raj. So the first is, I'd say, recognizing and accepting that digital twin is absolutely an ecosystem and a solution play. Using APIs and services and modern technology like container technology where possible to make your technology easy to integrate, embracing standards where possible, and then finally, participating in organizations like the Digital Twin Consortium, where we have a forum to bring new standards, new ability to sort of interoperate out in this sort of forum. So I'd say those are sort of my takeaways, but I'd love to hear yours as well.
Yeah, I think they kind of same in alignment. So one of the things I would ask vendors to do is modularized. I'm always reminded of domain-driven design, the microservices, the data mesh concept, where you modularize your capabilities so that it is interoperable. Yeah. That's one thing. The second thing is to have a reference architecture with a multi-vendor. When I was in healthcare, they used to do a demo from provider, payer, all of them coming together. So maybe we should do some community build where, hey, we 5 solution providers, here's the reference architecture, and clearly the standards. I think there where we could play a great role. More standards, easier to integrate. Those are my thoughts as well.